Hey everyone, happy almost spring and welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Nichi Bei Cafe. My name is Ryan and today I'm joined by your co-host,
Yuki here! As always, this monthly livestream program is brought to you by the Nichi Bei Foundation and Nichi Bei News through the benevolence of the Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation. If you enjoy what we're doing here at the cafe, please be sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button on YouTube for more content just like this. Also, if you want to be notified of new episodes or videos on YouTube, go ahead and hit that bell icon. And make sure to leave a like and comment down below if you have any suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi.
For our show today, we will again be featuring stories in connection to the Nichi Bei News Home and Garden issue. Last year, we visited the Hayward Japanese Garden and featured a local SF Japantown garden store, Katsura Gardens. And in this episode, we'll focus on other places that might be of interest to Japanese and Japanese Americans.
For our appetizer, we visit the California Museum in Sacramento, where they just updated their interactive exhibit on the forced removal and incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II, called Uprooted. For our salad, we venture to the San Mateo Japanese Garden located in San Mateo's Central Park.
For our main courses, we visit 2 schools in urban SF and Oakland with unique takes on teaching children about the food-to-table ecosystem. For dessert, we feature yet another mouth-watering recipe from Namiko Chen of Just One Cookbook.
And lastly, we'll check out an origami model for the Twist Rose, courtesy of Linda Mihara, and end the episode with tips of events in the local community.
So without further delay,
let's start the cafe. For our appetizer tonight, we can start dining on a story about the new updated exhibit, Uprooted, at the California Museum in Sacramento. The new tech-updated exhibit focuses on the mass incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II and explores the reactions to their forced removal, ranging from quiet endurance to heroic valor to conscientious resistance. The exhibit also highlights Japanese Americans' ongoing efforts to ensure no other groups experience similar civil rights violations. Please enjoy.
The Nichi Bei crew travels to Sacramento, California to visit the California Museum to attend the grand opening of the newly updated Uprooted, an American Story exhibit telling the story of Japanese American incarceration during World War II. As executive director Amanda Meeker tells us, the exhibit's roots comes from Mary Tsukamoto's educational work with the Elk Grove School District, which became part of the Japanese American archival collection at the California State University Sacramento Library, and why the museum felt it was time to update the exhibit.
We sort of had it in our minds for quite some time that the exhibit was going to need to be renewed. We started looking for, putting out the RFPs for the design firms about 2 years ago, and then really got started rolling about 1.5 years ago on just every week, meetings, Zooms, developing that content. And we took the old exhibit down last August, and we've been in full construction since then, and today's the day we open to the public. When we solicited RFPs from design development firms, I went out to several, looked at this one that really struck me, their work in New York, C&G Partners. And it just so happened that one of their crew was Japanese American. And so when we were evaluating the bids, that was a big part. It's someone who had worked on the Japanese American National Museum and who had that history in his own family was important to us. So that was a big factor, not the only factor, but a big factor in choosing that firm.
That person with experience was lead designer and architect Kevin Sayama of C&G Partners. Kevin led the renewing of Uprooted. Kevin explains how his experience at the Japanese American National Library connected him with his own family's history.
I was working as an architect in San Francisco, working on affordable family housing after graduating from Berkeley, and I basically just was running out of money doing it. So I decided, it's like, I need to change. I'm going to go to law school. This is 1994 or 1993. And a friend of mine who was in New York working at a firm doing exhibit design, she said, hey, why don't you come out to New York and work on the Japanese American National Museum where they're doing an exhibit about the camps. My first response was like, yeah, I want to be in New York. And so I thought I could live in New York for a summer, get paid for it, perfect. I don't even think I thought about the subject except that, well, you know, this is my people. That'll be cool. Growing up, except for my father being kind of, angry about things, but he was angry about a lot of things, that we had any context for understanding the camps. There were no exhibits. There was nothing in books. She didn't want to talk about it. My grandmother didn't talk about it. Nobody talked about it. So, and we lived in a pretty Japanese American neighborhood, West LA. So in 1994, it was my schooling, right? It was like, this all happened?
With that education at the Japanese American National Library, Kevin was ideal to lead the exhibit's redesign.
The way I go through museums, we have this way of talking about it. It's like there's the scholar, the strider, and the streaker. The scholar reads everything, every single label. They go through, they'll read this, they'll see. Then there's the strider who maybe just reads the main panel and maybe a little bit more, and then they move on. And then there's the streaker who basically is like, and goes through. I'm kind of both, the streaker and the scholar. In an interesting way, it's a little bit bigger. This is a very small space. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I'm working on a museum for the State Department right now that is 20,000 square feet of exhibits, which is big. It's like, it'd be this entire museum times 2. This is a pretty small exhibit, or a small space for a lot of story. It wasn't really the storytelling that wasn't, needed refreshing. It was really that there may be too much of it. There was maybe a little bit too much story to absorb. So too much detail, and it's the way of the world is like attention is really, you have a little bit of time to capture people, and it's got to be picturesque, and the information has to be really clear. We edited it down and kind of turned it into a system so that, each spot that you go to, you are familiar with the system. And then we took everything that didn't quite fit and either put it there in this theater over here, or made it a loop. We just said, it's so important, we're going to bring it out and you don't get a choice. It's not a push button, it's part of the exhibit. This is really the heart of the whole exhibit, is what was it like, right? Ted Kobata was part of that first effort to make this exhibit, and he's passed on, but this is his legacy. It was really important to the museum, and actually it's kind of important to us to, it's not an artifact, right? This is about a feeling. And it's important to us to keep that feeling, first of all. But the other thing is, like, we didn't want to lose that honoring of the survivors. So Stan Umeda, yeah, built this 2003. And that was one of the requirements. Or actually, it wasn't a requirement. Amanda said, please, 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 make this part of the exhibit. And I said, absolutely. And so this is a model of a guard tower from Tule Lake. And because Tule Lake is one of those stories that hadn't been told before, or at least very well, or with any focus, we just thought, here's this spot, this is anchoring this exhibit. And I think, again, it's sort of like the texture of this is meant to say, like, if you turn a corner, it's not going to look the same. Lawson is, first, a kind of compelling character when you see him on video. It's very heartfelt. But also, it's sort of this idea that we've come far enough in the storytelling that there's no threat to the veterans to say, it's like, hey, and there were these guys, right? There's a story, and I don't even think we included it, where Senator Inoue talks about going to Jerome and Rower from the training camp. And they were singing, and they had the ukulele, and they were like partying all the way there, just expecting to have this great dinner that they were going to get served. And they got to the gates, and it was like, what the F? This is like, what's going on here? And he said, the bus going back, absolutely quiet. She took a shirt where they autographed it when they were separated, and then she embroidered every single name, or every single signature. It's a beautiful artifact from Cal State, their archives. That's new. That wasn't in the exhibit before. This is Mary Tsukamoto. This idea is that it was not done. We're not done with this story. She was so determined to keep the story alive and out there. It really is this kind of idea that this is bigger. This is bigger than just what we went through. This is a big question, and we need to stay vigilant. I think that's how we wanted to end it. And these folks, they did a great job making this kind of bridge to the future.
Marielle Tsukamoto, daughter of Mary Tsukamoto, explains the true importance of display for generations to come.
It's important to have an exhibit like this where children come, learn not only about the history of what happened, and my mother always said, we need to look at ourselves as Americans of Japanese ancestry. And I'm so pleased that our executive director of the museum, Amanda Meeker, chose the title Uprooted, an American Story. It used to be called Uprooted, a Japanese American story. But we're putting our title as Americans, and that's how we should identify ourselves.
We hope the continued remembrance of the forced uprooting and incarceration of the Japanese American community into wartime concentration camps will serve as a lesson for America in the years to come. The California Museum is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Please go to californiamuseum.org for the latest information on holiday hours and admission prices. This is Greg Valoria for Kenji Taguma for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
Thanks to Greg and Kenji for that story. For our salad segment tonight, we introduced to you the San Mateo Japanese Garden. Nichi Bei staff writer Derek Tahara and our producer Greg Valoria had a chat with Mike Allen, curator of the San Mateo Japanese Garden. The garden, located in San Mateo Central Park, is a peaceful escape in the middle of the peninsula. It was designed by landscape architect Nagao Sakurai of the Imperial Palace of Tokyo and features a granite pagoda, tea house, and koi pond. Please enjoy.
Nichi Bei staff writer Derek Tahara and producer Greg Valoria visited the San Mateo Japanese Garden. Garden curator Mike Allen gives us a tour.
It all started back in the mid-60s with a number of Japanese gardeners, and they got together with some other groups and decided to build a garden here in San Mateo. And they got together and they got a great architect, landscape architect, Nagao Sakurai. I guess he's a big name in the architecture world. So he designed the garden. Between the whole groups getting all together and the sister city also donating some of the pieces in the garden, it all came together in August of '66. After Mr. Fukudami left, perhaps maybe 10 years ago, he was the last curator. We had a woman in here, Valerie Monroe, for a couple years, and I kind of helped her out for a little while, and then she left, and I kind of came into the position. We're close with the sister city of Toyonaka, and they've donated shinden, drinking fountain. We have a pagoda over here, really impressive. So we're standing under the tea house right now. When Toyonaka comes to visit, there's usually a tea ceremony here, which people really look forward to. It books up pretty fast. I'm always floored by the amount of leaves and debris that we take out of here. Probably pretty soon, the next week or so, we're gonna have to clean the pond after all the leaves fall in it in the wintertime, and we'll start pruning the pines pretty soon. And after we finish the pines, we start doing the maples, and it'll last until next fall, when I can finally rest a little bit and not worry about getting things done. So in the wintertime, a lot of people come into the garden and they don't see any fish in here, and they don't realize that the koi kind of hibernate, and they might just hang out all together under the bridge in secluded spots. So you won't see them swimming around like you do in the summertime. We brought a bird in to try to scare the other birds away, but it doesn't seem to work. That's another thing about the garden. We're always battling nature. We get herons and egrets in here. So we'll have a lot of baby fish, and we're all excited. We're gonna have some new colors, and by the end of the year, we don't have any left. Only the big ones survive. What I'm impressed with is how many people from all over the world come to this garden. It's pretty impressive. I start speaking to some of them, and they're here maybe waiting for their for their plane back home, and they stop by and visit the garden. I've had people that have lived in San Mateo all their life that didn't know this garden existed. So yeah, and when they come in here, they can't believe it.
Please visit the San Mateo Japanese Garden in San Mateo Central Park on weekdays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on weekends 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is Max Nihei for Greg Valoria and Derek Tahara.
Such a beautiful landscape. Thanks to Derek and Greg for that segment. Now let's move on to our main course. Our producer Greg Valoria visited Rosa Parks Elementary School in San Francisco, Japantown, where the sounds of the farm can now be heard.
In a place not too far away from the core of Japantown, one could hear the sounds of the farm. In May of 2022, a group of volunteer parents, the Green Team they call them, brought Chicken Coop 2.0 to fruition at Rosa Parks Elementary School. Then Principal Darren Kawai discusses the importance of a garden program in education.
Well, obviously, as an educator, it fits into the standards that we always talk about. We're always talking about, how do we do the environmental science standards, ecology, conservation, those things, life cycle, just plant cell formation. So we do some of that really basic stuff in kindergarten, first grade, going through there. But moreover, it's really talking about agency, that kids have that efficacy of their own lives, that they can actually have an impact on sustainability in their community. And so yes, we do all those things, standard-based curriculum, but we're also doing things we're really saying it's a social justice, environmental justice metaphor as well. And so that's really where we were trying to go with this, was every classroom has its own plot down in the lower garden where they do those things and they grow things, and many of them are edible. They just take the mint and make some tea. They release their butterflies in the spring. They watch the whole cycle through the caterpillars, through the chrysalis, all the way through into releasing them. So they watch these cycles in the garden at that time. And then when we added the upper garden and realized it was getting too crowded downstairs to do the classroom teaching and the individual plots, we saw this kind of nether concrete area here and said, that's the spot, and made this into what it is now. And again, it was 1 year at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 day at a time. That's really what this started. Was when I say that there was a ribbon cutting for that first planter box 13 years ago, I was there. It was one planter box, and now you see all of this a dozen or so years later. Talk about commitment, but also saying don't bite off more than you can chew. Just do one step at a time every day.
Mie Yaginuma has been the volunteer parent spearhead of the new Chicken Coop, spending countless hours on balancing being a mom, a startup advisor, and Chicken Coop advocate. She explains the metamorphosis of the project.
The Green Team actually has multiple people doing different things, and we had a chicken team with a different flock back then. And so they took care of the chickens, they handled donations and handing out eggs, and they came up with the idea because the chicken coop that we used to have was on a drain, and it flooded every year. And we also started having rat problems, so SFUSD was threatening they might have to shut us down, the whole chicken project. So they started talking about it and gathered donations, and I just not even monitored, I just supported from the side because I was more focused on fundraising, communicating what our program does to the rest of the school. So I was doing other things and just left it up to the chicken team, and slowly it emerged. And then different people got involved and got to the next phase, and then when the last alum grandfather who helped get the application kind of together and figure out what we had to do with SFUSD, they graduated, his grandson graduated, and so then I was left with the documents to try to get the application and the approval, and that's when I realized how big this project was. After COVID, we started the wheels rolling again because COVID, we were completely shut down. And I don't think we had a sense of how it would go. We had to contact again the donors, see if they're still on board. We didn't realize how long the application would take for SFUSD to give us the approval. Once we got that approval, we had to get all the different people involved to build it in line. Some people were on vacation, some people had different projects. So we really didn't know, but when it kind of was coming together, we realized, hey, we might be able to finish it before the end of the school year. And then it was a mad dash. I mean, when that was our goal, we really pushed hard. And also, we were getting our chickens from a nonprofit, and we had the choice of getting them about 4 weeks or 5 weeks before the coop was going to be done, or wait for summer. And if we waited for summer, we'd finish the coop, it'd be empty. The kids would come back to school, but the chickens were already there. So it really was not what we wanted to do, and it was risky, but we took in the chickens before the coop had even started, and trusted that it was going to be ready, because the chickens were in Eric's backyard, a kinder parent. So there was a lot of just trusting that this thing would happen, but definitely there were times where we pushed really, really hard to make sure we could make this date.
To volunteer architect David Darling, his time was spent on a greater desire of community.
The green team first approached me because they learned that I was an architect to help design the chicken coop. And so the first thing I did was get as many kids as I could together and ask them lots of questions and had them think about like what designing a chicken coop involves, like where will it be located, how will it relate to its surroundings, things like that. And it was really a fun project for me as well as for the kids, hopefully. And then beyond that, as I was saying earlier today, I consider this kind of a spark, what I call a spark project. It was designed to inspire and to inspire curiosity, but also not just for kids, but for the neighbors, and to bring awareness and curiosity to this space. And as a lot of people know, this neighborhood's been through a lot, and little things can matter. And so I have a dream of one day seeing this neighborhood reconnected and maybe having Geary Street go underground, have a surface park. And that's just that is a bucket list dream for me. But to be able to see the chicken coop from a distance, from the lower gardens in the school, and also from the Peace Plaza, was a really important part of the process, and it allowed involving the kids in this conversation allowed them to learn more about where they live and their family history and things like that.
Longtime supporter Barbara Fujimoto helped get the original garden started and got the space where the current chicken coop started some 15 years ago.
I never saw a chicken coop look like this, so I have to say I'm very surprised by that. But I'm so excited because once again, you see the community that this brings to our little space here. So,
Anna Luberoff, Director of Programs at Community Grows, explains how garden programs at Rosa Parks help urban students.
Cannot overemphasize how amazing it is for me to get to be in this space with kids who are so excited to be in a green space, or they're incredibly freaked out and then realize that it's a space where they can just feel free and they can touch things and they can like smell what things smell like and taste them. It is incredible to see kids who are really stressed out by just like the pressures of the urban environment come into this space and be able to relax.
Though Mie is graduating with her daughter, she has confidence in the Rosa Parks family continuing the programs on.
It's just wonderful to see that it's going to continue. Like, I'm leaving, but there's already this strong crew of kinders who are ready and excited to continue on, and that's like the best feeling to know that it all. Sorry. It's so many good memories. Just it's so wonderful. The community really, it's amazing.
Celebrating an anniversary this year, we hope that the Rosa Parks family continues its community-serving existence for years to come. This is Greg Valoria for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
Wow, chickens in SF Japantown, who would have known? Thanks to Greg for that interesting segment. Now we travel across the bay to Oakland, where another urban area teaches kids the meaning of farm to table.
We visit Lydia Yamaguchi and her team, where the Oakland Unified School District has built a farm, known to locals as the Center, in Oakland's Hoover Foster area. Nichi Bei News contributing writer Alec Yoshio McDonald and Greg visited Lydia and her team to learn more about their facility. Please enjoy.
Hello. Contributing writer Alec Yoshio McDonald and I visited the Oakland Unified School District Central Kitchen, Instructional Farm, and Education Center, known as The Center, and sat down with Lydia Yamaguchi, a yonsei from Southern California and wellness specialist, to learn more about the center.
The center is OUSD's new central kitchen as well as education space. So it's meant to be a hub for both the food, the meal program through OUSD's Nutrition Services program, as well as a hub for environment, food, and garden learning that happens throughout the schools.
Lydia is a part of a team of people that provide Oakland students with an opportunity to learn how food is grown by providing a real-life outdoor urban farm.
So I alone cannot take credit for making sure that every student is getting that education, but I can speak to the fact that, again, we have many people here and at sites, both who are providing the materials and the space to be able to learn, whether that's just a space to be able to walk outside and see a plant growing, being able to dig in the soil, to be a part of preparing the ground. Sometimes the students are part of planting seeds or small plants, and again, just a space for learning. So we have we provide some curriculum options and also different activities that people can do with students. There's also a vast source of those in many places that people can draw from, just to be able to bring students out. So I would say, honestly, the main vision, as I understand, the main vision for our work is to, again, just have a space where students can engage in the natural world, in growing things, in just seeing that little radish, little leaves starting to come out of the ground, and then being able to see that later and actually eat that as a way to make those connections that many people, many cultures have had since the start of growing food, but often we get disconnected from living in a more urban environment unless we have opportunities to access those in places like our schools or our backyards, if we have access to those, or community gardens and things like that. So
Lydia's fond connection to the garden comes from her connection to her grandfather's garden in Southern California.
Some of my earliest memories of gardening come from visiting my grandparents, my Obachan and Oji-chan, in Tustin in Southern California. And my Oji-chan had a beautiful garden, just so good at growing everything that you could possibly grow in that climate and then some. And we lived close enough that we got to visit on a pretty regular basis. And so it felt like a little bit of a magical wonderland and tasted delicious, which is highly motivating to me. And then on top of that, my Obachan was one of the best cooks, chefs that I have known, and could turn the stuff from the garden into all kinds of magical things. So I think that experience, as well as the experience of being able to have things grow in my own family's backyard, including things like the persimmon tree. We had a plum tree, which has also been a harvest of the month, really helped me understand that a garden can be a place of joy and healing. So I did bring one artifact, which is the hand pruners that my uncle gave me from my great-great-grandpa, so my Oji-chan's father, who again was running a farm in the Salinas Valley, and then also did gardening of his own accord again in the LA area once they grew up. And so my uncle had them and knew that I was working in gardens and shared them with me, and it just feels very special to get to hold something that's, I mean, honestly, they're probably from at least the 50s. I don't think that they're pre-war, but I don't know. It feels very special. So I wanted to share that and show that.
Lydia believes that garden education can enhance the greater awareness of a student's education.
I think that garden education also, I want to believe that it connects to lifetimes of healthy habits in terms of understanding that the outdoors can be a place of healing, understanding plants and food systems as a way to understand how we take care of our bodies and in turn our communities, and just having a greater understanding of how the natural world works. I think garden education also provides a lot in terms of connections to science curriculums, to history curriculums, even to reading and math. So, yeah.
Connecting students to nature and culture is a great way to connect with each other. This is Greg Valoria for Alec Yoshio McDonald for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
Thank you to Alec and our producer, Greg, for that segment. Isn't it great that these schools teach children where their food comes from?
Yeah, most definitely.
Next up is our dessert portion of the show. Namiko Chen of Just One Cookbook introduces not only a favorite in her household, but a favorite in Japan, Ootoya's sweet and sour chicken.
Who's Ootoya?
Ootoya is actually not a who, but a what. Ootoya is a very famous chain diner in Tokyo specializing in small treats, izakaya in Japanese. And Namika shows you how to make its sweet and sour chicken. Itadakimasu. Many thanks to Namiko for that recipe, and it really looks delicious. Hopefully you all watching from home will give Ootoya's sweet and sour chicken a try.
Now for our nightcap, our SF Japantown Origami Ambassador Linda Mihara will show you how to make the twist rose.
Hi, I'm Linda Mihara. I am a columnist for the Nichi Bei Weekly, and I do a column called Origami Now. And in today's lesson, I'm going to show you a really nice twist rose, which is actually very simple. This is folded from a single sheet of paper. So go ahead and grab a sheet of origami paper. If you want to get a larger size, that's fine. I'll be folding from a 10-inch square. And then grab a round pen, which we're going to use to help shape the petals at the end. So let's get started. So you have your square here, and we want to start with the color side face down. So we're going to go ahead and flip that over. We're going to fold both triangles. So let's go ahead and fold the first one. It's important to kind of line up your points and hold it lightly in place, and start your fold from the middle here, and then work going back and forth. And that way it doesn't shift on you and you have a nice clean triangle. I'm going to open that up. We're going to fold the other triangle. So we need to do both triangles. And again, you have the color side face out, and start your fold from the middle on out and open it up. And so now you have this. Now we're going to take it and fold it, turn it over to the back side, and let's fold both rectangles. So we're going to go ahead and fold the first one, line up this one corner. You just kind of lightly hold it in place, and that way you want to make sure that you're lined up here on this edge. And again, start your fold from the middle and go out so that you have this. And then you're going to open it up and fold the other rectangle. So you want to do both rectangles. I'm just going to rotate the paper here, and we're going to go ahead and make that fold. So it looks like this. So now you're going to open it up. You have the color side face up. You're going to reach up from behind and push up right through the center, and it pops up like this. And then what you're going to do is gather the paper together in between the points like I'm doing here. So just bring your hands together. So it ends up like this. You want to split your layers so you have 2 and 2. And so now you have this. This is called a balloon base in origami. So now what we're going to do is work with these 2 points here. Let's bring them up to the top of the triangle. So let's do one at a time. I'm going to go ahead and do that first. And then the other one, bring that up to the top too. And then fold. So now it looks like this. Now what we're going to do is, inside here there's a little pocket. And what we're going to do is a squash fold. There's a great way to kind of set this up, and that is you're going to take this point, fold it down to the bottom. So we're just going to fold each triangle in half. So we're going to take this and fold this in half, like this. And then we're going to unfold both of those. And then you're set up for the next step, which is right here. So there's a pocket in here. So if you pop this open here, you'll see that there's a pocket. So you just slide your finger into the corner, and you're going to squash it into a square, and you're just going to follow that crease that you've made here on the previous step. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So you're going to reach inside, find the pocket, pop it open, and then squash it into a square. So now your model will look like this. You've got 2 squares here, you've got a triangle up here, and 2 smaller triangles on either side. So now that you have that, let's turn it over and do the same thing for the other 2 points of the triangle. So we've turned it over. We're going to bring these 2 points up to the top. So let's go ahead and do that. Bring this one up to the top. Make your crease. Let's fold each one back down, folding it in half to get our guideline for the next step. Like that. Unfold both of those, and let's pop open the pocket. So you're going to reach inside, and it's just the top layer that you open up. And then you're squashing that into place, following those guidelines. Pop this one open, and let's squash the final one into place. So now your model will look like this. You've got 2 squares and you've got a triangle up on top. Next step is to take this triangle and just fold it down to the bottom, like that. And there are a bunch of layers there, so go ahead and make sure that it's a nice strong crease, and then unfold it. Now, what we want to do is if you look on the sides here, you will have 2 layers. You've got a layer here and then one in the back. Same for this side. If you reach inside between the layers like I'm doing here, there's an additional pocket on either side. So what you want to do is take these points and just open it up. When you do so, you see these pockets. These pockets here are what you're going to squash fold. So once you have this open like this, let's do one at a time. We're going to slide our finger in from the outside, and then we're squashing this and it makes a triangle. Just like this. So again, it's from the outside of the model. That's where the pocket is. And on this side, here's the pocket. Kind of pop it open, stretch it out so that it makes a triangle, and you're squashing it just like that. So this is what your model should look like now that you have those steps done. Let's go ahead and turn it over to the other side. And here's our center triangle. We want to take that triangle, fold it back, or fold it down rather, and then just bring it to center. So now it's centered, sticking up from the back like this. On the upper left corner, you'll see that if you reach in from the outside, you've got a layer here. What we want to do is bring this layer over, and you're actually kind of dividing this square in half diagonally here by doing so. So you reach from the outside, you have this flap, and we're just going to open it up and just fold that quarter of the paper. So now it looks like this. You're going to have a start of a curved part of the rose here. Now what we're going to do is take the opposite part. So the lower right corner here, from the outside, you're going to reach in here and find your extra layer and open it up so that now it looks like this. So now see, you've got the start of a twist here in the middle. So it's the upper left and the lower right that we've just folded. We're not doing anything with the other 2 flaps. So now that you have this is the fun part. This is where you get to twist it to create the shape, which is really fun. So you're going to pick it up, put it in the palm of one of your hands, and then with the other hand, you've got 4 sections. So take 4 fingers, put 1 finger in each section like this, and then you're just going to twist it. And what happens is you might have to twist it a little bit more till you can't twist anymore. So just keep twisting it so it almost kind of closes up on itself, and that's what you kind of want, like this. So now you have this shape, which is pretty cool. And then now get a pen, something that has a round barrel like this, like a Sharpie or ballpoint pen. And then what we're going to do is these 4 points get curled, and there's a certain technique that you do with a pen that really works well. You're going to take the pen, you're just going to kind of hold the corner in place here, and you're just going to wrap it tightly around the pen, and you just keep rolling it. When you get to the end, you just kind of pinch it, and what happens is that it curls really nicely like that. So we're going to do the same for the other 3 petals. So again, you take your pen, hold the point, wrap it tightly around the pen, and when you can't go any further, just kind of give everything a pinch, and then that kind of sets the fold in place like that. And keep going. So once we shape this, we're going to retwist it, and then that will complete your rose, which is really fun. Let's get that, make sure that you tuck that point in. So this is what it should look like after you've shaped the points. And let's go ahead and twist it one more time. Twist it all the way in, and you could actually kind of squeeze the base like this, and that kind of helps shape it too. So then when you release that, you can go ahead and keep shaping the paper and get it to be a little bit more the way you like it. So if you want a tighter curl, a tighter rose, a more open rose, this is great. And that is the wonderful twist rose. Enjoy. For more videos, you can check out the Nichi Bei Weekly YouTube channel, as well as on Papertree, we have a Papertree channel, Papertree SF, for more videos for some fun things to fold. Happy folding, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Linda, for that quick lesson, although this one does look a little advanced for me.
For me too, actually. Next up, we will present a calendar of upcoming events for the next couple of months. But first, we would like to thank everyone for continuing to support our YouTube channel. The growth has been so amazing, and we appreciate all of our new subscribers. Please tell your friends and family to subscribe so that they don't miss a single episode of our program, as well as video segments from the show and other special videos in between.
And if you enjoy what we're doing here at the cafe, please be sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button for more content just like this. And also feel free to leave us a comment or message on Facebook if you have any suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi. And now for our tips, including our community calendar and a special listing of Japanese public gardens across the country. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us for our Season 2, Episode 2 featuring Home and Garden. And don't forget that our Nichi Bei News Home and Garden issue just dropped today, and make sure you get your copy at your nearest outlet. And thank you, Yuki, for joining us today. I know you've been busy gearing up for this year's Cherry Blossom Festival.
Yes, indeed. You know, the festival is next month from April 8th and 9th and 15 and 16. And this year we're bringing back the Grand Parade, so make sure you check it out.
Excellent. If you guys are in the area, please be sure to stop by the Japantown Peace Plaza on those weekends to experience the festival.
We hope that you enjoyed our show today and wish you and your family a great rest of March. As always, we'd like to give another huge thanks to the Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation for their generous support of the Nichi Bei Cafe. We greatly appreciate our collaboration with you in finding new ways to engage our Nikkei community.
In this episode, we focused on Japanese American incarceration stories and home and garden features. We hope that you get a chance to be one with nature in the near future and perhaps take advantage of one of the many public Japanese gardens as featured in our tips.
Thanks again for joining us at the Nichi Bei Cafe.